Hello, everybody, and welcome into this week's 30 Minutes program. I'm Paul Tinkle, and our guest today is the Weakley County Sheriff, Terry McDade. Sheriff, first off, it's been a while since we've had you on the radio to sit down and talk about things that are going on in the Weakley County Sheriff's Department. But can you give us a little bit of a history about when you became a lawman, when you finished your time that you knew you wanted to be a sheriff?
Well, it started at the Weakley County Sheriff's Office in the detention center in 1999. I worked in there in corrections for maybe 7 months. And there was a gentleman that had to retire due to medical reasons, and they asked me if I wanted to go on the road as a patrol deputy. I was pretty naive, so I said sure. Did that for several years. In between 2004 and 2010, my sister, who's also a police officer, worked for Germantown Police Department in Germantown. She had twin girls. I wanted to be close to them, so I left the sheriff's office for a few years just because I didn't want to miss them growing up. All I thought about was the Weakley County Sheriff's Office the whole time I was gone. I'm not a big city person, and wanted to be back. I talked to Sheriff Wilson one day about something. I had to call him around 2009, 2010, and he said, "You called me because you want your job back?" And I said, "You know what, can I have it back?" And he said, "Yeah," and I was back in 2 weeks, and I've been grateful ever since to him for that. And probably, I never really thought about being sheriff, quite honestly. I just thought Mike Wilson would be my boss the rest of my life, and that's what it was, and I was totally content with that. I think probably in 2014 he was running, and we were door knocking one day. He asked me what's my goal, what's my end goal, and I really didn't understand what he meant. And he said, do you think when I leave you might want to run for sheriff? And I said, I don't know, I never really thought about it. And he said, I think you should. And I'll let you know when I'm don't want to run anymore, and I'll help you. And he did, and it worked out. It was tough. I had a bunch of good people that also ran when I ran because they wanted the job, and they worked hard. They did a great job, and I was fortunate to win. And we have been throwing our blood, sweat, and tears into the sheriff's office in this county for the year and a half that we've been in there. And I can't speak enough about my chief deputy, my lieutenants, my corrections, my investigators, my patrol, my administrative, because it takes everybody. One person, I don't care who it is, how smart you are, how great you think you are. One person, just because you call yourself sheriff, can't go in there and do the job. It takes everybody. Everybody has to be on the same page. Everybody has to get along. And everybody has to have the same goal, and that's taking care of Weakley County, the citizens, and taking care of their problems as best you can.
Sheriff McDade, most people think you've been living here all your life. Not true. You grew up in Carroll County?
Correct.
Tell me about it.
I grew up in a little town called Brewston, Tennessee.
That's not a little town.
It's pretty small. It's kind of like Mayberry, and it was like Mayberry.
Is that on the Hollow Rock side or the Brewston side?
Well, I lived on the Brewston side. I don't. So everybody asked that. I said, no. I was on the Brewston side, not the Hollow Rock side. But
were you an average student?
Yeah, average.
Average. Okay.
I probably had a lot of notes sent home to my mom. We love him, Judy. He's a great kid, but boy, he sure talks a lot. So I got that a lot, and my sister was kind of the golden child of the two of us. She made outstanding grades, and all she ever wanted to do is be in law enforcement. And I went to college, loved to laugh, hunt and fish. I hunted and fished way too much, and I wanted to do that for a living actually many years ago. And my mom one day said, "Nobody's going to pay you to do that. You got to find a real job." So thanks to my sister, she knew Sheriff Wilson and some other people at the sheriff's office because she worked at Martin PD at the time.
And your sister's name?
Kim Clark. And she's a detective at Germantown. She was patrolman here at Martin for a few years. And she contacted someone at the sheriff's office, Sheriff Wilson, and Blackjack at the time was the name of our jail administrator. And got me a job there, and sometimes you don't really know what you want to do. Things find you, I guess, and this career found me, and I'm thankful that these people and maybe the good Lord directed me where I needed to go.
If you just joined us, our sheriff of Weakley County, Terry McDade, is at the microphone with us here today. You put on your uniform the first time as a detention officer, which is actually a sheriff's deputy. Is that correct?
Yes, just uncertified sheriff.
Okay. And then you had to go to school.
Mm-hmm. You go to basic jail school for corrections, and that's a week long. And then when you transfer over to patrol deputy, when I went, it was 8 weeks. I'm showing my age a little bit. Now it's 3 months. It's 12 weeks for basic patrol school, cadet school at Toledo, Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy. And they get out on Friday. They get it like 3-day weekends. We had to go till 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon and drive home in the traffic. But things change, and we have to try to change with them. That's what we're doing at the sheriff's office, trying to adapt and come up with different ways to knock our burglaries down, thefts, drug work. And it's sometimes it's exhausting, but you just keep grinding.
Let me just ask some broad questions. You grew up in a small town, and you told me, is it okay to bring it up? I'm going to. You played football.
A little when I was young, yes.
Yeah, and you got hurt.
Here, let me tell the whole. I was doing football and got, hurt my neck during a hit or whatnot. And between that and some of these doctors, they say, well, maybe you were born with a crack and then the injury broke it off. I guess I don't have it written here for me to
We're talking about a neck injury.
A neck injury, correct. And my mom took me to, I don't know how many, 6 or 8 different doctors in Tennessee and West Tennessee, and they really didn't know what it was, so they'd send me somewhere else. And there was a doctor in Memphis. It's been many years ago, so I don't remember his name. And he said, well, we know something's pretty wrong or not right, but I wouldn't deal with it. So, but he said, I just had met someone who's from India, and he runs the University of Iowa Hospital in Iowa, and I think you need to go there. So that's what we did. We loaded up and went to
Boise, I guess.
We stayed in, I think, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Okay.
And then, because my mom's friend was a nurse, so happened right there in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And then we drove to the University of Iowa, and they checked me out. He said, basically, this was on a Friday. He said, Monday, you're going to be admitted to the hospital, and we're doing surgery. And, I was young, so they kind of explained it to everything that was going to happen to my mother, because I don't know that I would have listened at, a younger age. I wouldn't really care it. And you don't think about, I guess you don't think about death when you're young. So to me, it was just get fixed and good as new. And, of course, my mom cried every day because she knew what the outcome could be, I guess.
And so you wore a halo for a while?
I did. I wore a halo for 7 or 8 months. I want to say 7 months. And I was actually in the hospital for a 3-month period.
Does it ever come back and kind of let you know that we're still around?
Well, I have wire in my neck, so if it's really, really cold, you can hear it squeak.
Wow.
As odd as that is, I mean, it doesn't hurt or anything like that, and I don't have quite the mobility that someone without an injury would have, but the wire you can definitely hear sometimes.
I can't remember exactly as I move forward here on this conversation. Sadly, we've lost some deputies, very wonderful fellows that have served us, and I know you want to perhaps pay them some respects or to their family. Good friends of yours.
Good friends of mine, and that would be Danny Browning. He was a sergeant of ours, passed away due to COVID. Randall McGowan, about a little over a year ago. He was an investigator, and Captain Marty Plump, and we do love and miss them all, and it was sad. It was shock to us just because, for all intents and purposes, they were healthy.
And Marty's had a heart issue for a long time,
Correct.
and was talking to people right before he passed away. And I don't know that people really understand the camaraderie in the law enforcement world, but I can simply say when someone passes away that's in law enforcement, I mean, there is a very big null, a very big void. I don't know. But first off, the intellectual knowledge they have. And the second thing is they have been protecting people's lives, and then, sadly, they're not with us anymore.
And I think the public is affected just because they read it. They might not personally know them, but they've probably seen their name in the paper or heard their name so many times. Or
all of them have been a part of our radio station.
And people get affected by it. Oh, that's terrible, We deeply miss them. It was a shock, and they all happened, pretty close together. We just took a lot of hits there pretty quick.
Are you at full staffing right now?
I am. I was actually just given 2 more school resource officer spots. Thank you to the state and Governor Lee. We appreciate it.
Where are they now?
We'll be getting a second one. That'll be at the Dresden Middle School. I have one there, but that's my biggest school. So we'll now have 2 for the middle and elementary school. What's
a big problem in schools with having to have a school resource officer?
Well, one, we want to make sure that families and the kids feel good, feel safe, want to go to school. The parents feel good enough to leave their child, who is everything to them, at the school, and to maybe deter issues that may occur. Maybe somebody comes up there trying to do something, or Lord forbid, is going to bring a weapon to school. We want to have such a show and do such a great job that we want to deter anybody from coming to our county and doing this. So anything that we can think was extra alarms on doors, extra cameras inside and outside, extra people, which is where the teachers come in, because they have a lot more eyes than my 1 or 2 people, picking up on things that are alarming. That I think one of the biggest issues that, especially through the years, something will occur, and then you have 20 people say, well, I knew that, but I just didn't want to say anything. And now here you are, it's fine. We need you to tell us if little Johnny's acting a certain way or he's made certain statements. The problem is, it gets, I'm anti-social media. I'm on social media, but it causes so many issues
You almost have to be on social media. You have to. I mean, you have to sometimes go back and look at things that people have posted, or for that fact, who this person looks like or what they're.
And I don't, and that's fine. I wish things were accurate. With kids, they embellish. When it gets from kid 1 to kid 20, it's not going to be the same story. Mm-hmm. And it's for us to dig through it and find out what actually happened.
I won't dig too deep. If you just tuned in here, we're talking with Sheriff Terry McDade, Weakley County Sheriff's Department. Couple of, ball games back, we'll call it, in the fall, and there were some remarks that were made, things that were said, but you have to investigate everything.
Right.
And the story sometimes propels itself, and I'll give you a chance to talk about it here.
When everything began, there was a guy in a white van trying to snatch kids in the parking lot
of a school.
Of the school. The Dresden school, I'll say it, everybody's heard this story. There was a gun, and allegedly somebody pulled a gun, and there was a kid that had been beaten up severely and was airlifted by, and had been done by some people from McKenzie.
Now, how much of that is true?
0.
Okay.
There was no white van. I had, and it just so happened, thank goodness, I talked to Principal Killebrew, and we had talked about how, because it was Dresden McKenzie, it was going to be a big outpouring of fans were going to be there, and there were probably 3,000 people at this game. It just so happened, I think I had put 14 officers at this school, or I had 11, and McKenzie brought 3, okay? So, and they were on the road, they were in the parking lot, they were in the stands. We've never had this many law enforcement officers at a ball game, okay? And So there was no van, for one. The child in question had fallen, and him and his buddy were running, and he had fallen and busted his nose. Okay, that's where his injury came from. And there was a verbal argument, never a gun. That was never substantiated. I think the only one thing that we learned was like someone had knocked some kid's Gatorade out of his hand, and he pulled his knife out, and he got charged. And so, but it took 4 days for us to go through every bit of this stuff that had been put out to come up with, what had actually occurred. And, that was, social media. It's like this person says this, and then this person.
When things blow up, it blows up everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, not just in Dresden or Weakley County.
Correct. Everywhere.
And I know you get a lot of calls from other media saying, tell us a story, what's happened, and,
and that's fine. I would have, if you call me, I much more appreciate it because I can tell you what I can tell you. And if it's the sheriff's office working the case, then obviously people at the sheriff's office are the ones that have the actual knowledge, accurate knowledge of what occurred. And call us, and we'll tell you what we can tell you, or we'll send you exactly what we're going to send out to everyone. And that would be my plea to anyone. You can call us, we'll tell you what we can tell you, but we're not going to put out more stuff than we can afford to. We have a case,
you're working
we have
a
court system. We don't want to upset families of victims. Mm-hmm. We have, if it goes to a jury trial, we don't want to taint potential jurors. And there's a lot of reasons. It's not just to hide things. We have reasons for everything that we do.
Let me give you that follow-up. You had 2 new school resource officers, and you mentioned one of them is at Dresden. Is that correct?
I have one that's at Dresden that does both schools right now. We are attempting to hire one to add to that for the elementary and the middle school, and there will be one also at the Adult Learning Center.
Never thought about the Adult Learning Center having to have a school resource officer.
Right, but it has a state issue number, and they're going to give us the money for it. So but you have kids, alternative school or different issues that might occur, so they need one as well.
We're talking with the Sheriff Terry McDade here on our 30 Minutes program. Just a couple of things. Right now, I don't want to ask this question in such a broad way that sounds maybe a little difficult to even come up with, but what's the state of the county law enforcement today? Are you fully staffed now? Or do you have all of the things that you needed, that you wanted to get when you first took over, when you were talking to the county commission? The things that the sheriff's department really does need, whether it be more bodies, I'm talking about detention, jailers and those kinds of folks, to people that you need to get another investigator. And I would say, just guessing, that you can't have enough investigators.
That's true, but I'll start with, we are pretty close to being full. We obviously have to add the 2.
Patrol
SRO
officers,
spots.
investigators, and administration.
We've actually did interviews last week and this week for potential SROs to take those schools that I just mentioned. The jail is 100% fully staffed, which is great.
You have over 100 people in the Weakley County Detention Center.
Yeah, we keep roughly around 100. It might go to 85, it might be 105, but it stays around that. And as far we did, the commissioners did really well by us this past budget. Obviously, you don't get everything you want, but that's part of life. I need a couple more officers, and they told me, hey, come back next year and ask us about it, and we'll talk about it. So I'm hopeful. My salaries are pretty close to where I needed to be a little more.
Are you seeing people leave to go to other places?
I was at a high rate, but it has where we're at now. We're pretty close to
what's a deputy? What's a new deputy paid?
Starting out 48 if you're certified, 47 uncertified. Top out is just under 53, and we're not far from being probably the best paid around here. Obion County and Union City, we all time have to compete with them.
Who do you thank for getting those salaries up? County Commission or the state of Tennessee? Or?
The commissioners helped me a lot. I'll say it was blood, sweat, and tears. It was a stressful 4 weeks of my life I hate to say it, being upset. They were upset, arguing back and forth, and in the end, the large majority of the commissioners did very well for us, and as well as they gave the all county raises, good raises also.
What's the status of your automobiles now?
We're actually in good condition. I should knock on wood because, they'll hit 3 deer tonight if I talk about it too much. That's one of our biggest issues is we hit 10 deer last year, I think. And it's tough.
Sheriff's deputy's car strikes a deer.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get that on the radio, by the way.
Well,
and this is not uncommon.
No, they drive. You're talking about 4,000 to 5,000 miles a month. Okay, because they're one side of the county to the other side of the county, and
you made a promise. You made a promise that you were going to go after getting some funding so that you would have more
Correct.
deputies, and that was
Correct.
part of your campaign.
And I did, and the salary I've gotten up. I got more cars per year. I used to get 4, now I get 6. And one of and that's one of the main things that when I was campaigning was manpower. I have changed our shifts to 12-hour shifts, so we just about all the time have 3 people as opposed to 2 people on. If I add 2 people, 90% of the time I'll have 4 people on a shift, and which is where I was trying to get with, and that was a lot of things that people talk to me about. We don't ever see anybody. I don't get that now because I get a lot of great calls of people. Man, we see you and we appreciate it.
Do you do any ride-alongs? Do you actually go and patrol the roads?
I do. If I can't sleep, I'll go out at night. During the budget time, I was out several times at night just because it was my first budget. I couldn't sleep.
So you got yourself back in the car and went out and patrolled.
Yeah, but I loved midnights when coming up. A lot of people they don't because of sleep. I would have much rather worked midnights all the time when I was on patrol than work day shift.
You may not be able to answer this, but how many calls did you take in the first 6 months of your tenure?
I'm
talking about the sheriff's department. Yes,
the office. I could probably get the number. How many? I don't know. I will tell you, many things happen that have never happened before, and
such as.
Well, when you some with my own employees that we had to terminate and charge with crimes. That was not something that was easy or you're used to because you hire these people and give them trust, and so does the county, and so does wherever you put them, if it's in the school or in the courthouse or whatnot, and you feel like everyone looks at you like it's your fault, you made a mistake, and you hire people, you do background checks, you talk to all their references, you look at their criminal history, and you also how they do on your interview, and it's a lot of times it's 50-50. You can feel great, they look great, and then this happens or that happens.
There's an old expression that I've heard: you never know anybody until you either live with them or work with them, and I don't know that those two are real. I don't know. Right. I don't know if that's true or not in many cases, because there have been some crazy things that take place.
It does, but they work themselves out, and I found that as soon as something terrible happens, you tell everybody, and it's out there, and they can make their own judgment.
Let me give you a chance to give the media, and I'm not just specifically talking about us, but what do you expect out of the media when we're having to get a story that may not be very if we have to get something from you, what's our grade? What would you say around these parts, and whether it be Jackson to Paducah, Weakley County, or wherever it happens to be?
I hate to give a grade. I mean, there's some that we're are much easier to work with than others, I guess. And it could be someone new trying to break into the media world. Maybe they're more aggressive, trying to make a name. And so I get that. I understand that, even though it gets unnerving at times. But I would just ask, reach out to us, talk to us. Don't be upset when we don't give you things you want. We give you what we can give you. I know a lot of people, they want the juice, and I call the juice the bloody, gory, terrible things on certain incidents or crimes. But we're not going to give all that out because we don't want to taint the case. We don't want to affect potential jurors in our county when this goes to trial, when and if it goes to trial. And we don't want to hurt or upset the victim's family by putting things like this out.
There's so much that goes out on social media that is unsubstantiated.
Correct.
And I know that makes you feel uncomfortable. And we in the media, we were wondering, now, what's that all about? He didn't tell us that happened.
Right.
And in fact, it didn't happen. And
then we get more calls trying to explain that we have nothing about because this network put out certain details that aren't accurate or aren't true. But it makes a lot more headaches because we have to explain to all these people, well, they so-and-so said this. Well, so-and-so don't know. They weren't there. We were there.
How many people are under the roof of the sheriff's department? That includes detention officers as well as deputies and then clerical people. How many do you have working?
28 certified, 3 clerical, 1 maintenance man that I'm missing right now. My maintenance man left for a better paying job. So quick shout out if anybody needs a maintenance man job, give us a call. And I have 22 in corrections.
So you got about 50 people working, or give or take a few. Yeah. Do you have any fun stuff to tell us about here? Things that have kind of been cute. I don't want to say you saved a kitty cat, but I mean, there's got to be something that maybe that you've had some things that made you smile.
Well, actually, we had a Pentecostal private school, and there was about 5 kids in there that came and wanted a tour over Christmas. And we actually, there's a picture of it on our Facebook. Myself and Chief Winstead gave them the tour of everywhere, and they were fantastic. Great questions. One kid was a little wild. He reminded me of myself, and I felt maybe every time I see a child like that, it makes me feel bad for my mom because I was pretty wild. But that was one of the highlights, and we met several kids throughout the school, and they kind of know that I went through Dresden Elementary a little while ago, and 3 kids said, "Hey, there's the sheriff," and because I know their parents, but neat little things like that, or people calling us just to tell us that, hey, we think you're doing a good job, and that means a lot because you worry all the time, or they want to brag on one of your deputies or one of your corrections officers, and I will say we are doing about 1,000 extra property checks a month on our shifts, especially our night shifts, and our thefts and our burglaries have gone way down. I don't know if that's why, but I think being seen a lot in these rural communities deters crime. I truly believe that, and that we get a lot of calls from friends or people that I've only met a couple times, just telling us, hey, I got your card on our door. And I think when you're doing that much, 1,000 extra properties a month is quite a few for 2 or 3 guys to be putting those cards out. So I hope that's what it is. We're going to continue to do it, and we appreciate everybody that's been patient with us for the last year and a half as we're getting acclimated. And we don't step in and just know everything.
You don't become the sheriff and get comfortable.
Correct. Very correct.
It's a full-time job,
yes.
24 hours a day, always worried about men and women that you have in your circle, and hopefully that nobody gets hurt.
Correct. That's every night.
And every night. Sheriff, I thank you for your time today. I hope this has been helpful to our listeners. I believe it has, more than anything else, to give them an idea of the state of Weakley County Sheriff's Department and the job that you have been doing. Thank you for coming in.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Hope you've enjoyed our program today with Sheriff Terry McDade. This is Paul Tinkle, pre-recorded here at Thunderbolt Broadcasting.